To understand the rise and fall of capitalism, we first need to go back to the dawn of humans. There, our primitive human beings had no real society. Life was brutish and guided by instinct. The strong survived at the expense of the weak, but there was no sense of ownership. This earliest stage, where people lived only by manual work, and according to Sarkar, is called the Shudra age, the age of the toiling masses, ruled by hunger, fear, and survival. There were no familial bonds, no sense of community, and no organized structure or recognized leadership. Today, they can be found as unskilled laborers and workers. As time passed, however, brute strength alone proved insufficient for survival. Courage and leadership gave rise to warriors who organized the people, the Shudras. These were the kings and queens, the chieftains who rose to power through their ability to protect and lead. This was known as the Kshatriya age, or the warrior era. They built fortresses and castles, symbols of their rule by force, and established codes of honor, loyalty, and discipline. Sacrifice and responsibility towards the community was valued over personal interests. This era saw the birth of hierarchies and the first true societal structures, with the strong now not just surviving, but actively shaping the world around them. Today, we'll find this warrior class in police, security, and the military. Also with courageous explorers, and with elite or professional athletes, martial artists, and extreme sports people. In time, these mighty warriors discovered the limitations of their power. To wage wars effectively, to govern vast territories, and to administer increasingly complex societies, they required more than just strength and courage. They needed knowledge, strategy, new weapons, and wisdom. Thus, a new class rose to prominence: the intellectuals, the priests, the advisors, inventors, and scientists known as Vipras, or the intellectual class. Personal expression and liberty became important. These intellectuals, armed with learning and insight, became the true power behind the throne. Temples, churches, and centers of learning replaced fortresses as the hearts of communities. This was a time of great philosophical and artistic advancement. But it was also an era marked by the manipulation of knowledge for power. The intellectual elites, while bringing about unprecedented advancements in science, art, and governance, also discovered the power of religious dogma and superstition. They used fear, ignorance, and guilt as tools to maintain their influence, creating complex systems of belief and ritual that entrenched their position at the top of society. The Hindu caste systems is one example of this. Another was the way many religious leaders used scriptural dogmas to persecute women and treat them as inferior to men. Today, the intellectual class can be found wherever their intelligence is needed: in academia, government, judiciary, science, media, religion, the arts, and so on. In the shadow of the intellectual class, a new group began to rise: the traders, farmers, merchants, entrepreneurs, and the financiers. They are the Vaishyas, or capitalist class. These individuals had a unique intellect for seeing how to make money. They saw opportunity where others saw only tradition or doctrine. They recognized the potential in new discoveries, in the movement of goods and ideas across vast distances. Slowly but surely, they began to accumulate wealth and influence, challenging the established order of intellectuals and warriors alike. Today, towns and cities now have grown into sprawling metropolises, centered not around castles or temples but around shopping malls and business centers. In this new capitalist era, we have witnessed unprecedented levels of material wealth and technological advancement. The power of capital has driven innovation, connected distant corners of the globe, and raised living standards for millions. Yet, as with all previous ages, this too has come at a cost. The problem is, in this age of capitalism, money becomes the measure of all things and dominates everyday life, to the exclusion of more healthy pursuits. One of the great strengths of the capitalist class lies in the willingness to take risks and make sacrifices in pursuit of wealth. Unlike other classes, capitalists often invest boldly, and those who succeed amass great fortunes. and then with this wealth buy the services of the other classes. They can manipulate, for example, political decisions in their favor, or buy profitable inventions or other businesses, or buy protection and security from the martial class and secure the labor of the working class. Yet, this concentration of wealth in the hands of a few magnifies inequality. The rich grow ever richer while vast majorities sink into poverty and insecurity. This relentless pursuit of profit too often comes at the expense of human well-being, social integrity, and the natural environment. As these problems deepen, we must question whether capitalism is sustainable. Democracy, many believe, offers a counterbalance. Yet as P.R. Sarkar warned, democracy often masks the rule of wealth. Elections require immense financial resources, leaving most candidates beholden to financiers. As a result, corruption and hypocrisy thrives. Honest leaders are sidelined, and the public is deceived by politicians' spin and false promises, resulting in poor leaders being elected. Sarkar liken it to a puppet show, with politicians pulling the strings while mega-capitalists are controlling the stage. Materialistic consumption has become the creed, profit the guiding faith, and the majority are reduced to economic servitude while even the middle class struggles to survive. Sarkar observed, "Capitalism is now rapidly moving into the final stage of degeneration. Society has become the victim of insatiable rapacity and unbearable hardship. Capitalism, like every age before it, cannot last forever, and it, too, will end." Does this mean communism is the answer? Sarkar argued no. Communism, he believed, is both outdated and more harmful than capitalism. Instead, Sarkar offers PROUT, an acronym for the Progressive Utilization Theory, as a viable alternative to capitalism, and which is based on economic democracy, and, for example, has a minimum and maximum wage structure to prevent extremes in wealth and poverty, as well as having major reforms to democratic elections to reduce many of its shortcomings. Out of the turmoil of post-capitalism, Sarkar believes new leaders of courage, honesty, intelligence, and spiritual insight will emerge, ushering in another warrior age. And so the social cycle turns. First, the warrior age, which brings order back into society, then the intellectual age, and then the capitalist age, each rising, each falling. As we stand on the cusp of this new era, it is clear that the choices we make now will shape the world for generations to come. The future remains unwritten, waiting for us to shape it, not with greed and exploitation, but with benevolence, cooperation, and goodwill.